It's going.
Okay. All right, good evening. I'd like to call the Village of Sister Bay Board of Trustees regular monthly meeting to order on Tuesday, May 19th at approximately 6 p.m. Please turn off any noisemakers that you may have. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Nino,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Bertle.
Here.
Is Bell excused or absent?
He's
here.
online.
Oh, okay. Bell,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Kadunko,
Here.
and Nino.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Approval of the agenda as published.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes as published.
I would like to have a correction and addition on page 5, line 32.
Okay,
I would like it to say the village board and plan commission, and in specific reference to the plan commission, under its statutory authority and purpose, that the plan commission is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the community.
I'd much prefer it if the plan commission got blamed. All right, that's fine. Any other changes? Okay. If not, all in favor of the minutes as amended? Aye.
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 Did
Opposed?
anybody make a motion or a second? I don't think so.
Didn't we?
Motion.
No,
Okay, so Nate made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So once again, as amended, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, comments and correspondence. Anybody online and want to make any comments about a non-agenda item? Okay, correspondence. I know there's a number of correspondence ones. I'm not interested in reading them all. They can certainly be part of the record. There are a number of them on there that are questioning whether the village has an order in place. I think a lot of people are confused. We'll talk about that or not. Hopefully we can clear that up again. And then there's also one on there concerning taxes, the property tax, which I think we will discuss under COVID-19, but that would be something we'd have to take up in the near future. Yep. Any other correspondence to add by anybody?
That's it. Oh, there was one for the Tavern League about reducing the soda or operator licenses.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I missed that one. Yep. Okay, new village board business items. Discussion regarding an update on the village's response to COVID-19. Consider a motion for action if necessary. I'll start. There may be some confusion, but there will also be some conversation about this, I'm sure. So first of all, with Randy online, I want to make sure everybody understands. Last week when we did the extension of our emergency proclamation, a lot of people took that to mean that we were extending the safe at home or safer at home until June 30th, and that is not our intention whatsoever. It's not part of it. We made a proclamation. The proclamation remains in place, but there are currently no orders under the proclamation. It simply will allow us at this point in time to continue to accumulate our expenses and submit them for reimbursement at some point in time from FEMA, other federal agencies, and or state agencies as it becomes available in the future during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would expect that to continue for a while, but there are no orders under it in any way, shape, or form for any businesses, any personnel, any individuals, and there has not been since the Safer at Home was shot down by the Supreme Court. So I want to make sure everybody here can clear any confusion if you're asked by constituents or business owners or other people that call. And maybe Louise will talk about that in a little bit too. So I want to clear that up. The second thing is, of course, today the county health department issued, sorry if I keep looking off to the right, I have my second computer over here so I can have the whole screen up with the agenda and everything on it. They issued the Let's Safely Reopen Door County guidelines. So there is no longer a health department order in place. They did issue guidelines for businesses to begin to open back up using the WEDC, CDC guidelines in particular, and they're asking that those be followed. As far as any enforcement of these orders or of the guidelines, if somebody or an institution or whatever is found to be in continuing non-compliance of the guidelines, potentially the health department, if notified, could go there and evaluate the situation. They would try and educate, be no enforcement action at that point in time. If, however, guidelines continued to be disregarded over a period of time, at that point in time, the health department would have the option of putting in place an order. If the order is ignored, then a civil action could be instituted against that company, place, individual, whatever that situation was. At which point it'd go through the civil process through the county, and that is what a civil order would be under the health department. So they've taken away anything having to do with any criminal issues. It would simply be civil orders. But the idea would be, of course, to educate and voluntarily comply with the guidelines that were put out. And Door County's been very good about doing that for the most part. And we certainly hope and expect that that would continue. But if you don't have a copy of the guidelines, you can go on the county website and download it. It's a 3-page order, very easy to do. It does talk about congregating in groups. And I like that they put a chart together. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if you can see it if I hold this up, if you can see the chart, okay?
Okay.
The green color basically is
Here, I can
states.
post.
Pardon?
I can put it up on the screen. Give me one
Okay,
second.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
I just realized not everyone's probably seen this.
There we go.
Thank you.
So, of course, the green is low risk, staying at home. Moderate risk is gatherings of 10 and under. High risk is considered gatherings of 10 to 50. And not advisable in the dark red is gatherings of 50 or more. Okay. Again, these are guidelines. This is not a prohibition. The health department is asking people to try and accommodate the guidelines for everybody's benefit as they have in the past. So there's been a lot of questions about groups, and this is what I wanted everybody to see what the guidance was that was put out. So other than that, if anybody has questions about the guidance or if they've seen them and have questions, I'll try and answer them. If I don't know, I will defer you to the public health department. But the health department worked very hard over the weekend, as did a number of other people, to try and put these together sooner rather than later and make them available today instead of waiting for another couple of days. We tried to give as much notice to our businesses and to our residents as possible so they can begin to move forward with their plans.
I just want to jump in and just state these guidelines are very consistent with the signage that we discussed at Parks about putting around our open space. So we will continue to, add that signage and make things available so that people can, follow social distancing and make sure that they understand that these guidelines should be followed.
Okay, great. Can you take the screen away so I can see everybody again, Bo?
Yep.
So I know who to call in.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay, thank you. So if there's any questions on the guidelines at the moment? Okay. Let's talk to Jay.
Well, I mean, we're doing everything we can. We're handing out masks. We're doing a good job with that. what can you say? I mean, it's getting tougher to get some food and that, but we're still getting some. And we're just preparing for the weekend, and hopefully we can keep sanitizing the carts and all that and keep up with everything. So it's been going good by us. So.
Okay, good. Any questions for Jay?
Jay, how's your supply of masks holding up?
We're pretty good so far. We've got actually our warehouse and Tim Callahan from Badger Wholesale had some, so I've stocked up a little bit on them. So hopefully we should have enough for a while.
Good. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep.
Great. Anybody else for Jay? All right, thank you, Jay. Let's go to Chris Heck.
Good evening, everybody. We're kind of status quo, other than that if we've talked about a little bit, we're seeing some, I think I used the word volunteer fatigue and burnout. We saw that again today a little bit. I got a call from actually Jay's daughter saying, hey, we're short on volunteers today. They didn't show up. They didn't call in. We're seeing that. I apologize to Jay. We tried to get that backfilled quickly. We had some trouble. A lot of people are going back to work, which is ultimately a good thing. But it is starting to affect us negatively as far as our ability to fill slots, both within the organizational chart and within the community. The positive side to that is people are going back to work. We are starting to ramp down our specific requests for help from individuals is declining significantly over the last week or 10 days. So internally, we're looking at shrinking the organization. And again, this is all very positive. This is what we would like to see. Ideally, 5, 7, 10 days before our target date, whatever that target date turns out to be to end this, maybe we're not getting any calls those last day or onesie twosies. The thing that we worry about going into it is how do we stop it if there's still a tremendous demand. But it seems to be working out. People are either becoming more comfortable with the situation or are finding other means of getting things delivered or stuff to them. Again, we have made a long-term commitment to Scanned and to some others that we will continue to support them any way we can through the summer, and they've asked for into the fall. So aside from that, Bo and I have had some conversations about trying to acquire PPE for the parks guys. We're working on that. A request went in on that. And hopefully we're going to be able to fulfill that this week. So other than that, I don't have much, but would take questions. And I don't know, Dave, if I'll be able to stay online throughout the meeting.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris?
Good job, Chris.
Yeah, I think you guys with the coalition have done a marvelous job. Kudos to you. Of course, kudos to Jay. He's as wrapped up in that as anybody else is.
Absolutely.
And, you guys have done a wonderful job for the county, and it's awesome to see it happen, come together. As again, people of Door County somehow always pull it together and keep moving forward. So that's wonderful. So thank you for everything you guys are doing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Louise.
Okay, so with the new update coming out from Public Health today, I would say that the biggest effect would be on businesses. On dining and their ability to now be able to serve inside. So in talking to not all but most of them, I would say that we have 3 or 4 that whether there was whether the order or the guidelines changed or not, did not intend to do that, but we'll continue with curbside, and we'll probably continue with curbside until early to mid-June. And then we have a couple that will start inside dining, if not tomorrow, the next day. And maybe inside as well as curbside. So a little bit of both. And I think that, the toughest thing for dining, at least, is that they were on a track to be ready to open up on the 26th or the 27th. And then that track, shifted a lot in the last week or so. So I think that they just stayed on track, most of them, and said, we weren't planning to open up inside until after the 26th, and that's what we're going to stay with. But having said that, there will still be a couple that will be inside as well. Some will serve on premise. They'll have a bar outside. And so you'll sit at the bar outside, and you'll order your meal that will be inside and come out and serve to you outside. So you won't go in the restaurant to eat. As far as retail goes, most of them opened up on Friday of last week, and it went okay. I mean, I don't think their biggest fear or concern was how to manage people at the door that didn't want to wear a mask. And there were some people that didn't, and some people that weren't very nice, but overall it went okay. And business was okay. It wasn't, barn burning, but it was fine. It was okay. So it gave them a little bit of a chance to, kind of get used to the process and how to do it and all that stuff. But with the new order, last week it was 6 people. This week it won't be. So but at least they got their feet wet and, trying to figure out how to manage through that. But for the most part, most of them had people at their door, asking folks. And I would say, I think almost to the person, every one of them required a mask. And then it talked to a few churches. The churches at this point, I don't know of any denomination that's intending to have services in the church yet. A lot of them we're waiting actually for another thing to come from public health. And so you have the elders of those particular churches getting together to decide what to do. Some are just moving to streaming services and hadn't before. So I think it's going to be a while before they make those decisions. A while meaning at least a week, maybe 2 or 3. The biggest concern being a lot of the folks that attend services in person, is a little bit older cohort, and so they have to figure out social distancing, possibly at another service. So there's a little bit that goes into it. I did talk to Winnie today at the food pantry. She's fine. She's doing great. She's got the food, et cetera, that she needs. She expects to see a little bump in July, but she's prepared for that. And that's because the assistance that folks are getting right now is the max that they can get, no matter what they were ever going to get before. They're all getting the max, and that runs out at the end of June. But she's prepared for that. She's a pro. She knows what she's doing, and she's absolutely okay. And talking to other food pantries as well. We will have the park signs in on May 29th, and then the banner probably the week of June 1st. The banner is essentially, mirrors what the park signs will say. I went online. I don't know if anybody's interested, but Brown County is having a virtual town hall meeting tomorrow at 8:30. And if you go to either their website or go to the Press Gazette, you'll be able to go and access and get on if you want. And because they have extended their emergency order through June. No idea what the details of it are, to tell you the truth, but they are having a virtual town hall meeting. And then as far as occupancy and what's going on with how we're looking in lodging this weekend, we still have 8 properties that are not open and won't open until the 26th. Those that are open, it's very lean. I would say we're maybe 20% booked. But over the last couple of days, a lot more calls for people just asking, are you open? Can I make a reservation? Are the restaurants open? A lot more questions. So with this order that's come out, that could help to, straighten things out, help people know exactly what's going on. So I think we're going to have a lot of, if anything, day trippers. Some of it depends on weather, but we'll have a lot more day trippers. It looks like Illinois is going to lift most of their regional orders in about 10 days, 11 days. Depending on what region you're in, but in the Northeast region, which will probably affect us more, which is the North Shore, probably 11 days or so. Now, it doesn't mean that they're still not traveling, anyway, and it might mean also that if all those restaurants open up down there, they hang around down there, who knows? I don't know. And then and then the masks, we've distributed 1,800 masks to, thank you, Chris, and to the Fire Chiefs Association and to all those people that sewed these masks. So we've distributed 1,800 to any businesses that requested them throughout the county. And then there's another 3,600 which at some point we'll get, and that would be what they requested for peak time for additional staffers. And then what we're hearing about J1s is that one of the difficulties is that the embassies aren't open and they're in no hurry to open. And so the J1s can't get a visa and they can't even make a plane reservation without a visa. So that's been a little bit more complicated. So none of the news coming on the J1s is good. It's not getting better. Let's put it that way. See,
I just want to add something about the airlines there, Louise, because I was looking at airlines yesterday, trying to get a read on that for something to do at the county. And international flights out of Europe over to here in particular, they're just not happening. They're not even going to look at them until after the 15th of June.
Yep.
It'll be very limited, so it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, someone had mentioned to me a couple of their staff members who have green cards. They can't get flights because they keep getting canceled. So even if they've got all the paperwork and stuff they need, they can't get here. And then I think really that's about it. I mean, we're working through the visitor center. You know, the old schoolhouse will not open this year, and we hope to open up the visitor center in our new office. If not, hopefully this Saturday. We got the plexi. We need to install that. And Paperboy's going to deliver whatever rack cards they have. They don't have a lot of new rack cards, but they have some. But we kept all of ours from last year. So if we think we can pull it together, you know, we'd like to open. I'm just always curious and always like to talk to visitors, see what they have to say, particularly now. So that's sort of where we stand.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Louise? Okay. All right, we will move to Liberty Grove and John Lowry, Town Chair.
All right, thank you. No problems, no questions.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Have I missed anybody?
Is Miles on here?
No, I got a message from him that he would not be able to. He has a conflict. But I do want to, while we were talking, I did get a text message in. I don't know if somebody's able to see this without logging in, but somehow it seems like it. Anyway, the text message was, can you explain the new health department order, what it really means for people that get sick or if there's outbreaks? And I guess probably the way I would describe it is, up until this point in time, as a country and as a state, we've been in what's referred to as mitigation, you know, try and flatten the curve, lengthen it out. And we've certainly done that. It's been fairly effective, of course. It's been very effective in Wisconsin, which is great. So then when you move from mitigation, then you move into the phase they refer to as containment, which means everybody should recognize the virus is not going to go away. There will be more positive cases. There will be outbreaks. But the hospital and the public health department feel that they are in a position at the moment to, if there's an outbreak, if somebody tests positive at a restaurant, or a couple people do, they would move quickly to try and contain it to that business and do contact tracing for employees or anybody else that was involved, and try to contain it that way. And that's what they refer to as containment. So if you're not aware of this, I will not name the locations in the county. I think most people know what they are, but we currently have what I would call 4 small outbreaks in the county at a couple of different businesses and restaurants. And even though we have those outbreaks, public health is confident that they're going to be able to contain it through their contact tracing. That's also why, if you follow the daily update on the number of patients, positive tests, pending tests, et cetera, I think at the end of today, you'll see there's over 250 outstanding tests, which is one of the largest outstanding amount. Well, that's because of the contact tracing and people that were in contact with the people that tested positive. They're being sent to get tests. Some of them may be showing symptoms, and that's why those testing is ramping up. And that's the whole point of the containment. Now, if in fact, as I mentioned before, if something got really out of hand, there might be some additional orders from the health department come down on a local basis in particular areas to try and keep that containment in place. So those are the words that you hear now are, we moved from mitigation to a containment strategy. And both the hospital and public health at this point in time are confident, based on the guidelines that were put in place, that it looks like we'll be able to move forward under the containment policy. So, anything else on COVID-19 from anybody that I may have missed or has other questions? No? Okay. We will move on to our rest of our regular village board. If anybody is online that wanted just to be there for the COVID update, we'll be moving to regular business, so you can drop off. Or, as we've said every other time, if you want to stay on and hear all of our enlightened discussion, you're certainly welcome to do that. Item number 2, consider a motion to call the 2020 Board of Review for the Village of Sister Bay to order and immediately adjourn that session to a later date when the assessment roll call is completed. I'll make a motion that we call the 2020 Board of Review for the Village of Sister Bay to order.
I'll second it, Dave.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. I will make a second motion that we adjourn the Board of Review until such time as the assessment roll is completed.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 3, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission that the Village Board pass and adopt Resolution number 425, which approves the plat for Shoreview Condominium 2, which was submitted by Gary Wessa for parcel number 181423000D, which property has been assigned an address of 10601 Shoreview Place and is commonly referred to as the old school property. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Yeah, so this one is pretty self-explanatory. This is the plat for the duplex that is going in conjunction with the 2 condos that are being built currently.
We would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Item number 4, discussion regarding recommendation from the Finance Committee that the 2019 annual financial statement and management letter for the Village of Sister Bay be formally accepted. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Tasha, do you want to explain?
Sure. Let me just get to that page in the.
While she's getting to that page, I'll make that motion.
On 31.
Was there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, so the 2019 financial statements have been included in your packet, and the final draft has been emailed out to all of you as of today. Overall, it was a very good year. General fund fund balance was up. Unassigned fund balance was up, well within policy limits. So that's excellent. That's good news for us and helps us get through this year and this uncertain time. Fund balances across the board were very good. Village has reached 60% of its legal debt limit. That's down from 66% the prior year. So we're moving in the right direction on our debt. That's still high in comparison to peers, but as I said, it's an improvement, and we've been working towards that for the last couple of years. So, utilities and Marina, I'm kind of just paraphrasing my report here. Utilities and Marina, both good condition. Marina had a wonderful year with $196,000 in operating revenue. Utility did show a net operating loss, which is unusual for them, but the reason for that is the high, we capitalized the main lift station project. And so that took a lot of cash out of that fund and impacted that fund pretty heavily. Obviously, that's a one-time expense, not expected to go on or continue. So not something to worry about, but we will be doing a rate study on the utilities and making sure that we are good to go moving forward. Does anybody have any questions for me?
What were there changes between the draft and the final?
There were not changes between the draft and the final. The reason the draft was sent out, we were waiting on one thing before the partner would release the final.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other questions of Tasha? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha, for all the hard work.
Yeah, Tasha, isn't that discouraging when you do all that hard work and in 2 seconds we say,
Oh, come on. It took almost 12
I understand it a little bit. Thank you for all your hard work.
Well, when it's a good year, it doesn't bother me so much.
And wait till next year when you're telling
Yeah,
us this.
right.
Yeah, right.
Just be fortunate. We had a good year prior to this. I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome news.
Yep, it's great. Okay, item number 5, discussion regarding confirmation of President Leland's recommended annual committee and commission appointments. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Some of you, I got to it last minute, i.e. Nate and a couple other folks. But I think, Janelle, if you can follow along, I think this will make sense to you. I'm only going to give you changes,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
So the first one will be the fire board. We'll add Pat Duffy.
okay, so Scott is gonna stay on there or Scott is coming off?
Rob was on there.
No, Scott was on fire board.
And Rob.
They were
And,
both on there.
So Rob is, okay, I gotcha.
Right.
Okay, and so Pat's going on fire board, okay,
So everything else is all based on what Rob had. Okay. So
okay,
it'll make sense. It'll make sense in a minute. Okay. So everybody else is staying the same other than Pat moving to the fire board. Okay.
Okay. so
And
Vivian-
the list I'm going to give you now is Vivian.
okay,
Okay. So the first one would be Door County Coastal Byways,
okay,
Door County Tourism Zone,
okay,
Library,
okay,
Marina Fest Committee,
mm-hmm,
SBAA, Ad Hoc Ice Rink, and we still need to find somebody for the Youth Center Board.
okay,
That's the only one that's out there yet.
okay, now, yep, that's right, okay.
Dave,
Yes.
is there a possibility that if we cannot find somebody for the youth center board, just like Parks has a citizen member, would that be a possibility? I do know that Rob enjoyed that committee and did an excellent job on it. And whether or not he would still be interested, I don't know. But is that a possibility?
Well, that's actually why I left that one open. I was going to contact him and see if he would be willing to do it. And if he was, then we could change our bylaws to allow a citizen member to do that.
Okay. Well, great minds think alike.
Absolutely.
Good idea, guys. Good idea.
I like that idea.
Okay. I think that's all of them. And then everything else on commissions and other boards would remain the same. I know we still haven't, we have an opening on Plan Commission yet for a citizen member, I believe, Denise?
Yes.
Okay. So that is what I'm recommending. Somebody would have to make a motion and we would have to vote on those changes.
I'll make that
I will
motion.
make that motion. Nate will make the motion. I'll second.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all your continued involvement on the committees. Discussion regarding a recommendation from village administrator that the village board pass and adopt resolution 428-0519-2020, which extends the comprehensive outdoor recreational plan, the CORP, for the village of Sister Bay. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Bo, would you please explain what this is and
Yes.
why?
Yes, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'm going to wing this one. So just to give you some background, the CORP plan stands for Comprehensive Outdoor Recreational Plan. This was a plan that the Village of Sister Bay had enacted for 2013 through 2018. It was a 5-year plan. Those plans are generally 5-year plans that get updated consistently. The Village of Sister Bay, unfortunately, did not have an administrator, and therefore at the time there was a lag period where it did not get updated into what would essentially be 2019 through 2024. And so that's the background there. With the grant application for the Pebble Beach project, we were contacted by the DNR, and in order for the grants to be applicable on this project, we need an active CORP plan as a village. So there was a little issue there. I talked to the DNR back and forth, and we got an agreement that if the village were to extend the life of the 2018 CORP plan that we had, as long as it still meets the goals and activities required for the village, that we could extend it through January 1, 2021. So that's what would need to be done today, is a resolution to extend the life of that court plan from 2013 through 2021, January 1, 2021, and then in which time we will have to get working on updating and getting a new one to be presented and approved at the future date.
Okay. Questions for Bo?
No, but I'll make that motion. And just as a talking point, I did get a copy of it, and as Plan Commission Chair, I'm going to start reviewing it, and probably at some point in time make a presentation to the Plan Commission and go over the changes, and then move it on up to the board.
Okay, great.
Denise, I'd be happy to work with you on that and help provide some changes on there.
I like to work by myself.
Fine by me. I mean, I'm not going to complain.
Oh, never volunteer to help Denise again.
Okay,
Never
so Zoom it between two rooms, right? No.
I rescind my offer.
We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions about the CORP?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Report on county activities from County Supervisor Dave Lino. Our board doesn't meet again till the 26th. We had an emergency board meeting last week, which was to ratify existing orders, and of course to begin to work with public health on what was happening at the state. So other than that, there is no update on county board activities again till the 26th. I will mention one thing, what the emergency board meeting was about, which is probably the most important thing. Tasha's probably been notified, or Bo has for sure. The reason we had the emergency meeting was to pass the property tax relief act that the state had put out. So we did pass that as a county board. Each municipality would now have to pass it. A mirror image was sent today from the county treasurer, Jay Zahn, as to what would have to be passed. And he's asking that it be passed and notated back to him no later than July 1st. So we can certainly do this in our June meeting without any difficulty, or if we feel we need to do it yet in May, we can do it on our next meeting if we're going to have one next week.
Steve, that was sent to the board members or to the trustees prior to the meeting as additional correspondence.
Okay.
So they got an email about that.
Okay. So again, just to reiterate, anybody, if you don't understand it, the property tax second payment, only for people that are eligible to make a second payment, is extended to October 1st with no penalties or interest, but it would have to be paid not later than October 1st. The idea was to allow businesses and residents that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic to save some cash flow or to save up the cash and use what they currently had and be able to extend their property tax payment. So that's the purpose of it. Each individual municipality has to pass it or it doesn't apply in their municipality. And that's what the emergency meeting was about last week, so that municipalities had enough time prior to July 1st to have their meeting. So basically, it's got to be a meeting in May or June to make it happen, which is why we wanted to get it out.
Yeah, I'd say we should put this on the agenda for June meeting.
Okay. And that's all I have on county activities, unless there's other questions. Okay. Report by the village administrator and village activities and projects.
Yeah, so I didn't include a report on this. I'm sorry, I don't have enough time right now to get the reports done for all the items. I guess my latest update would be from Parks. Our staff is running to get everything set up as was discussed at the last Parks Committee, as far as benches and cleaning up the beach area. With the weather that we've had the last few days, it made a mess. So they're scrambling to just get everything ready for the weekend. Everything else is pretty much going as smooth as we could hope right now.
Okay. So what have you been doing? You don't have time to do a report.
Oh, just jumping from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting.
I think we all understand. Okay, review the financial statements, consideration of a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the monthly bills as presented.
Second.
I'll second. Okay.
Any questions? Tasha, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope.
Just spend the money. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Committee reports. Admin has not met. Admin and Comp has not met. Common Tech has not met. Coastal Byways. I'm not going to say has not met. I'll keep going till we find one that has met. Okay. Coastal Byways, DCECD.
They met, but it wasn't at the meeting because I was moving back to my office.
Okay. Economic Development has not met.
I was just going to jump in on DCEDC. They're just doing some damage control with businesses and just trying to assess, revenue situations and how they can assist businesses. They're looking at federal loans. They're also just doing a heck of a job gathering some surveys from the community to see where they can be more assistance as we roll into the summer. They're just basically focused on damage control right now.
Okay. And they are also part of the long-term recovery task force that's in place. So,
yeah.
Economic Development has not met. Finance, you saw the result of that tonight in the packet. Fire
Has not met.
Okay. I assume the Fire District Exploratory has not met. Historical Society.
Historical did have a meeting. Minutes are not there. We had a meeting on Thursday, the 7th, where they basically went over events for the summer, what they were going to cancel, what they were going to try and hold. Basically, I got an email. Some of the gardeners who were signed up for the garden walk are starting to pull out. That's a July 9th event that may not be held now. So that's it.
Okay.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
I spoke with, oh God, who did I talk to? I can't remember. About opening up the actual building. And I think you guys are they're in the process of hiring a docent, right?
That is correct.
Right. And so do you think they're gonna open the building?
Yes, they were going to open, I thought it was the 27th of June.
Okay.
I don't have my notes here, but I think that's the date that.
That's still okay, that's what all right. I just wondered if that was still the case. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Holiday Lighting has not met. Library has not met. Marina Fest.
In a meeting we talked about last week, we're just opening and looking at various potential projects.
And Marina Fest meeting is this Thursday.
Okay. Have you gotten any more information back yet on that knee wall, Pat?
No.
Okay.
Contractors are busy.
Really? Okay. All right, just checking. Parks. Saw the result of some of that. Personnel. We just met. Minutes are not out there yet. Plan Commission. That was also on there tonight. SBAA. That would have been Rob. Tourism Zone. Also Rob. Utilities.
Meeting packet has the minutes. Just a very short meeting, just getting back on things. Have we heard anything, Tasha, from the attorneys on the checks, the invoices?
The attorneys?
Well, we were going to talk about the invoices for the tours for Liberty Grove.
Okay, so as of the last utility meeting, Liberty Grove intended to go back to their board and have a discussion about it. I haven't heard anything from them since then.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Youth Center has not met. Ad hoc Rights Committee has not met. Emergency Management Plan Committee has not met. Discussion regarding matters to be placed on future agenda referred to committee official or employee. Of course, the corporate piece for sure. All right, Consider a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851E to deliberate and negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, conduct other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, Wisconsin statutes 19.851G, to confer with legal counsel for the government body which is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Motion by Lino.
I'll second.
Roll call. Lino, yes.
Baker, yes.
Berto, yes.
Karanka, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now in closed session, does we need to have anybody drop off? No, we're good. Okay.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I have to stop the recording, please. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we move back into open session.
I'll second.
Roll call. Lino, yes.
Baker, yes.
Berto, yes.
Karanka, yes.
Vivian, yes.
Okay, we are now back in open session. We have a couple of motions that need to be made. Can you read them, Janelle, one at a time?
sure. Okay. So it would be, I had it here, no, I lost it. Okay, that the village board authorizes the execution of the subordination agreement for the Door Hotel that was reviewed at this meeting as presented. And the village clerk shall see that it is recorded in the office of the Register of Deeds in as timely a fashion as possible.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next motion.
Okay, that the village board accepts the exercise of renewal option that was submitted by the United States Postal Service on the condition that the lease shall actually be reviewed at the next meeting, next regular meeting of the village board.
Okay. Anybody care to make a motion for that?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, there is no other business to discuss. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
I would like to ask a question, Dave.
Sure. Please.
I presume that we are going to still have our weekly meeting next Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, have conversation about how things went. Do you envision us after that maybe going bi-weekly, not having them at all, or when the coalition winds down, that would be the end of the meetings? What are you looking at?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, let's get through Memorial Day weekend. We'll see what happens with the first weekend, and then maybe start cutting back and try it every other week, and then maybe once for maybe June, and then once we get into July, we'll have a much better idea of what's at, and maybe we can go back to our regular meetings. The other thing I was going to bring up was the Zoom meetings work out pretty well for us, but given the new guidelines, we could certainly move back to in-place meetings as long as we did our social distancing and we're in a large enough space. So that's the other thing to consider. As long as the coalition is still using the building, I would recommend we stay on Zoom until we have another place to meet.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Denise, what do you think?
I'm not interested in seeing any of you face to face at least until July.
I would like to see you give you a big hug.
I take that as a compliment because Denise, you were skeptical of the Zoom meetings.
That's good.
Yes,
That's
I
good.
was. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, and we can run a combination for a while too. I mean, at the county now, what's happening is primarily because people are in areas where they don't have high-speed broadband. But right now, during the month of May, we started moving back into committee meetings. And those were all held in the county boardroom because it was large enough to accommodate all the committees for social distancing and still have plenty of space for the public. The county is going to start opening up their building over the next couple of weeks and bringing people back into it on a limited basis. They are still going to have people at home that can operate from home, continue to operate that way. It'll probably take 6 to 8 weeks to get the county all back together. But we had some employees that were furloughed. They will be called back now, and they'll start to open up the building again. It'll still be by appointment, but you'll be able to go into the building now. The departments that were not staffed, they were all working at home, will start to staff. For instance, the land use services is probably going to have split into 2 crews. One crew would work Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the building. The other crew would work Tuesday, Thursday, as they start to integrate themselves back in. So that's how they're doing it at the county. But meeting-wise, starting next week, and I think the next county board meeting, we will have it all in the one large room again. There's normally enough social distancing available for that. We might have to have a separate room available via video for public, but we would continue to operate our Zoom meetings. Even though the board was mostly together in one room, we would still continue to operate Zoom meetings for public or anybody else on the outside that was uncomfortable in public meetings or that preferred it on a Zoom due to their schedule. Same thing with board members. They could also elect to be in person or continue at Zoom from home or some other location. So.
Then
But
for
for
the
next week,
minutes, do you
for
want
next
to
week, let's
start
do it
having
this again.
in-person meetings in July? Or do you want to wait and see?
I think
Let's
we
wait
should
and see,
assess
but I mean, for next week, we can continue to do it like this. We can think about it
Yeah.
and decide.
Okay, because what
you know-
I've got, that Zoom meetings shall continue until the fire station is available, but that in June meetings shall shift to being conducted bi-weekly. If possible,
Yeah.
commencing in July, in-person meetings shall commence, but social distancing shall be adhered to.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Want people
And
to
we'll-
wear
you know,
masks at those
Like
meetings?
Denise said, we'll have a better idea of what it looks like once we get through Memorial Day weekend.
Okay. If you do have the in-person meetings, do you want people to wear masks?
Well, the guideline is that if you're within 6 feet of somebody, you should wear masks, or if you're going to be in an area where you could be within 6 feet of somebody passing, walking, whatever, masks are recommended.
Okay, so I'll put that in here.
Anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second it.
Nobody wants to leave. Okay, great, Scott.
Pat, you're so quiet. I haven't heard a word out of you today. What's going on?
I'm just taking it all in.
I thought you were muted maybe or something.
Nope, I'm right here.
He's
All right,
tired.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
Good
luck
night.
this weekend.